How Hoyoverse manipulated the gacha industry. Man, Tectone really likes talking about Genshin Impact and Hoyoverse a lot. Yep, I'm a bitch about this game till the end of time. You wanna know why? Because that's all they do about me. And I know this shit drives them crazy. It drives them crazy. So let's hear more about how Hoyoverse is a shit company.
The sweet smell of gambling mixed with sweat, tears, and a looming sense of fear of missing out. That is the essence of Gacha. Back in 2017, I remember leaving the theaters in mid-March with 2 friends after having seen the movie Fate Stay Night, Heaven's Feel Part 2, from the Fate franchise I very much enjoyed. And no, I surprisingly wasn't.
Why does Fate have 5 million different timelines? Are we supposed to understand? Because I understand that it has it, but I'm understanding, is there a reason why there's a million different timelines? Or is it like just for fun? Because they can. Good question. It's just like Marvel. Really? I don't know about that one, man. Okay. Well, who knows? Okay.
Bullied in high school. In fact, I had been so excited for this movie that I had downloaded this neat little game called Fate Grand Order a few months prior because I enjoyed the franchise so much.
Hell no.
Little did I know that was the worst decision I would ever make.
Yep.
They had just added this super badass character called First Hassan, so I thought, what better time to start my first
horrible streamer. I'm good.
Gacha game.
Also, pulling for a dude? No thanks.
Grinded as hard as I could, saved up my currency, and rolled all of it until I got a rainbow glow on his banner. I finally got him. Wait, he's not a Saber class servant. Oh no. I had instead gotten spooked by Artoria instead of First Hassan. This was my first encounter with the crushing feeling that gacha games can have on a person. While for some, this feeling simply causes them to uninstall the game, I was a rookie gacha player full of optimism, so I kept at it like an idiot. My full-time job at that point in time was watching VTubers and playing Path of Exile, so I wasn't about to purchase pulls, so it was...
That makes a lot of sense after meeting Genocide in real life. He looks like a dude who watches a lot of VTubers. And I mean that with so much respect.
Back to the grind I went. However, by some divine intervention, my next 10 pull was First Hassan. I was elated, and I would ride this high for over a year of playing this terrible, garbage money sink game, which eventually ended when I spent an entire year saving for a character and failed to pull them. Fate Grand Order is basically the Diablo 4 of gacha. It's an easy target you can dunk on for free internet points, but a lot of people who do so haven't even played the game. It's just the gacha game boogeyman. If you talk trash about it, everybody just...
Yeah, well the thing is, you can just take one look at its pity system, understand everything you need to know about that game, and just like the Xbox 360, turn 360 degrees and walk away. There's no reason to ever do it.
Just agrees. Even the subreddit feels like they went through every...
No pity is insane.
Every stage of grief and are in full acceptance mode that the game just sucks.
What pity? Exactly.
And won't get better. Fate Grand Order is...
360 is a circle, bro? Yeah, I know, bro. That's the joke. That was the joke. Is that it makes no sense.
An older generation of gacha. This game had no pity on banners until more recently, no packs you can buy in the shop other than raw currency, a 0.8% chance of getting the character you want, which are all limiteds by the way, and realistically you could save up for an entire year and not pull the character you wanted since there was no pity at the time. It also has no auto feature, long load times, no real account bind systems, you could just lose your account forever if you use a new device.
That is so fun.
Every character you pull is completely useless because it doesn't actually fit in your farm team, which is the only
That being said, that fox bitch in the front is so fine.
That matters. A Famitsu magazine
still no idea who she is, but she is so fine.
Previously said wanting pity on rolling banner characters was greedy of players. I love unbiased gaming journalism. Also, the gameplay just wow. The most boring and rudimentary turn-based gameplay that's somehow more boring than an actual auto battler. And yet, somehow, this game is making millions a month with all of these downsides. We all know it's due to the hentai.
It is absolutely due to the porn. We all know it. And time sunk.
Don't lie. These horrible predatory gacha games were considered much more normal back then, and when you see some of what we have now, you may think that gacha has really come a long way, and are way more consumer friendly, right? Well, that's what I'd want to talk about in this video. What's considered the new gacha norm, the new generation, and how consumer friendly it is. Also, if you enjoy this type of video, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll be making more. September 28th, 2020, Genshin Impact exploded onto the scene, and for the first time, a gacha game was in the mainstream. Many people who had never even heard of a gacha game played it without knowing the deep, dark hole that they were falling into of anime waifu gambling. In fact,
Oh,
many people
yeah,
watching
it's
this
bad.
video probably started their gacha journey with Genshin as their gateway drug. First one's on me. Now,
I believe back in the day, Summoner's War was the gacha that got everybody horribly addicted to gacha. These days, it is Genshin Impact. This is a gateway drug, 1,000,000%. And I'll be real, if people thought Genshin was bad, they don't even want to know Summoner's War. When a new character is announced in Summoner's War, you might get it 2 years later. For Genshin Impact, at least if you spend $300, you'll get it today. Summoner's War, you drop 50 grand, you might not even get the character ever. It's brutal. That being said, you know what's crazy? They're still bad. And also, Summoner's War is a better game. Let's just be real.
some of what made Genshin so special was three things. First, it felt like a real game. It was a high production value game, one of the most expensive ever made, in fact.
Hello?
No, not you! Most gachas looked or felt like cheap phone games, and most people in the West would see a phone game as something similar to Candy Crush, or some game their mom would play on the couch. Not a real game, just a distraction. It had nice graphics, was welcoming of any age group. It even has a floating piece of meat that repeats the dialogue over and over in case your ADHD distracted you.
Wow!
Oh, what you're saying is that Paimon helps explain what's happening to people who can't pay attention?
Shut up! It also had a PC client. Most gacha games at the time didn't have
So
these,
bad.
or if they did, they weren't really in the public eye and were more small time. As with the previous point, many in the West wouldn't consider it to be a real game without it being on consoles or PC, and although most of Asia plays on the phone, it still gives the game more legitimacy as a real product, not something cheap. Secondly, it released during the pandemic, and as we all know, anything related to the internet was boosted heavily during this period, including mindless grind.
417% was the increase in Twitch user base during the pandemic. It was insane. It made so many careers, and the absence of it has now broken so many careers. But there is those who still remain. There is those who still keep at it every single day, despite all odds. Despite all of those people turning their back on him, Tectone still fucking remains.
And gacha games. Numbers on any
The
social
boogeyman
media and
of gacha.
exposure on platforms like YouTube, Twitch,
Say his
were at
name
an
and he will
all-time
appear.
high, which was perfect to boost this big new game.
I
Lastly,
believe in John
the game had
Tectone.
over $100 million in marketing, which I mean, come on, that's an insane amount of marketing. It would be a bit embarrassing if it didn't work.
What the f is this piece of shit?
Anytime you opened a YouTube video on phone, you'd get a Genshin ad. However, if you got one on PC, why aren't you using an ad blocker? Now, Genshin was the beginning of what many may consider to be a modern gacha, or what sets the bar of quality. Many games are copying.
It's crazy going back to Genshin and realizing how shit the character models look after playing Wuthering Waves. I put a video on that on my More Tectone channel. I remember when Genshin came out, I was like, oh my god, look at how hot these fucking characters are. Oh, Diluc looks so badass. And now you put Diluc next to Calcharo? Bro, you put Ayaka next to Jinshi? What the fuck am I looking at?
The formula and trying to make high budget quality games that engage the player more than a junky phone shovelware game. Gone are the days of the low budget scammy gachas that plagued the market being the only choice. There's plenty of higher budget gachas since then, with more on the way because Genshin proved that gacha games don't have to be slop. We've set a new bar of quality and generosity for all gacha gamers. Right? However, there is one very important part that we haven't mentioned about.
Here we go.
The gacha system. Now, there's always been many types of gacha casino systems. Ones with no pity, ones with carrying over pity, shards, a spark system.
Shard systems will always be the worst systems in any gacha game. They are so fucking boring. No, I'm not excited about getting 1% of a new unit.
But when it really comes down to it,
Fuck
most
you,
of
Cookie
these
Rod.
in the past were scammy, unless they gave you a ton of free pulls. So what has this new age of gacha brought us? The 50-50 system. And let me explain why I think this system is one of the worst things to happen to gacha games. Wait, come on guys, put down the pitchforks! Wait, just a minute, let me explain! Genshin Impact was so popular that many games have copied this very same pulling system. Hell, sometimes even the purchase denominations in the shop are the exact same. Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, Girls Frontline 2, Reverse 1999, hell, even the hentai gacha that I play has it. They can't keep getting away with this, damn it! How it works in Genshin is that every pull has a 0.6% chance of being a 5-star. However, realistically, this 0.6% chance is broken down into 0.3% of...
Actually, every pull you have is a 50-50 chance of being a 5-star. It either is or it isn't. And for some reason, I'm just getting super unlucky.
the banner character and 0.3% of a random standard character. After 75 pulls in the banner, you reach the soft pity stage, where every subsequent pull has higher rates until you get a 5-star that resets the counter, but the second 5-star pulled guarantees the banner character. Alright, so if you're moderately lucky, you may get them around the 80-ish pull range, but if you're unlucky, we're looking closer to 160 pulls. Now, I may have failed 4 math classes in school, but I'm pretty sure that's a lot of extra pulls. In a game that doesn't give a crazy amount of currency and isn't super generous, that's kind of an insane disparity all within a single coin flip. And don't even get me started on that weapon banner. But hey, surely it's better than the old days, right? Yes, absolutely. Some of the old gacha games can rot in hell, they were so bad. This system is surely better for the average gacha player. But what if that isn't really the case?
Really?
What if the 50-50 system is actually much more predatory than we really think?
Let's
Now,
hear it, man.
bear with me for a moment. Theoretically, if someone pulls for a character and they lose the 50-50, they'll be sad, but doesn't this also motivate them to spend more money?
Absolutely.
You see a light at the end of the tunnel, and have
Absolutely.
recently gotten very unlucky and feel pretty low. You're only 1 pack away from the character with no 50-50 anymore.
True.
Come on, boy, you're almost there. You can do it. Psychologically, the 50-50 system can crush your mentality extremely hard, but winning that 50-50 and the hope of it happening incentivizes you to pull. It's
True.
almost like a gacha within a gacha.
True.
However, if they win the 50-50, they feel like they got really lucky and they're relieved, even though rather than being rewarded, they just weren't punished with the coin flip.
True.
Keep in mind, I am not a psychologist or economist or have any experience in the game industry. This is simply my observation, but I believe it
That is
holds
fair.
true for many players. I've personally had many people tell me that they either quit the game due to 50-50 or refuse to play games with this form of gacha because they think it's so predatory. Also, many who quit the system don't really matter to the company because they weren't going to spend money anyways, so the company doesn't really care. These players just uninstall and go to Rule 34 for the character they just missed. People
Yep. That's what I do. It's that easy, man. And once you watch the character get fucked like 3 or 4 times, you get bored of them. And then you wait for the next release. We all know it. Dude, day 1 of every character release, people are cranking their shit. 2-3 days later, they don't care. Hey, when's Jane Doe 2 coming out? Next.
will defend this system as,
Well, if they didn't do 50-50, they'd have to increase the pity to like 140 or something.
but the company made billions of dollars from this game. I think they'll survive a more lenient pity, and Dawei can probably survive with only 3 yachts this year instead of 5. And some even say
we'll
things
see.
like,
Well, it's better than FGO and no pity.
well,
Right.
yeah, I'd rather be punched than stabbed, but that doesn't mean either is good. Just because
True.
you compare this system to the Diablo 4 of Gacha,
I think the Wuthering Waves weapon system, is perfect, down to the very minute details. You pull, when you hit the 5-star, you got the weapon. It is perfect.
doesn't really help your case when there's way better systems. Also, it's actually lower rate per pull than Fate Grand Order's 0.8%, which is kind of insane to think that it's worse in any metric whatsoever than a game that basically everybody dunks on. But this isn't a hit piece on Genshin Impact. I'm trying to explain how this became the norm and how the popularity of a game has normalized a gacha system that probably would have failed in most other instances.
True.
Since Genshin opened the floodgates of gachas in the mainstream, Many have only experienced this system and don't have the perspective of other ones, causing everyone to kind of just accept it as the norm. It's similar to how games also copy other successful ones' UI because that's what players are used to and it feels normal to them. Many of you may not have played a game without this system. I'm also not speaking from a moral high ground. I participate in this as well, and I play these games and I sometimes spend money. We're all degenerates together here. What I'm trying to say is that we're all on the same side of a bad situation.
I would rather there be no pity and then make the chance of getting a 5-star 1.5 to 2%. I think I would prefer that. Because the problem with these pity systems where you have to hit 80 to get the 5-star, then win the 50-50, is annoying as shit. It's annoying as shit because it, one, takes the fun out of it because you're almost never getting anything until you go to hard pity. It's just fucking miserable, right? And it leaves you the 2% chance. You get a 5-star every 50 pulls on average. Now, there are streaks where you could go giga unlucky. But that's the thing is, you'd have to get unlucky rather than it just being the status quo. Because hitting a 0.6 is fucking insane, right? 0.6 means you get a 5-star every, oh God, 140-ish pulls, which is just fucking nuts. Before the fucking hard pity happens, right? So it's just fucking insane.
Because us as the players are the ones to benefit by wanting better systems rather than defending a bad one. And all this together, the quality of games but the shift to a different dubious monetization is what I consider to be the new gacha era.
Sure.
However, I don't really think I'm alone in thinking all of this. More recently, the game Snowbreak has actually added a secondary version of every banner that has lower rates per pull, but no 50-50 nonsense, which many players appreciated. Also, a newer China-only released game called Guilong Chao, I probably butchered that, got a ton of hate for using a slogan of "Say goodbye to miHoYo Gacha," referencing the 50-50 system, not the games itself.
It is
which
fucking
many players
horrible, bro.
didn't.
I hate it.
Now let's also
It's
offer
so
an
trash.
alternative, and as I've played or looked into a lot of gacha games, what could be done instead of the 50-50 system? First, we have a game like Azur Lane, a cultural icon in the gacha community for sure. 7% SSR rate, they're practically flying off
Holy
the shelves.
tits.
The game makes most of its money from skins, and if you think
Holy
about it, isn't that the best
legs.
way because you
Holy
don't pay
boobs.
for characters or power in a PvE game, you paid it.
Jesus.
Next, let's look at Goddess of Victory Nikke. Wait, give me a moment. I'm still looking. Anyways, this game has a 2% pull chance of the banner character and a 2% of a random SSR. Every pull gives a ticket that carries over between the banners, and
Yeah, I think
200 of
Nikke's
them
system is
can choose a
great.
current banner limited unit whenever you
I think
want.
it's really good.
Easy to own most of the characters for free with dupes just from pulling normally, as you'll get random SSRs all the time,
Yep.
but not feel punished but rather rewarded when you get them.
True.
Also
Yeah, it's
extensively
awesome.
played Epic 7, and it has a system of 120 pulls with ample amounts obtained on the regular, made it
Now, before I glaze Nikke too hard, I would like to say that that is a game where it's oftentimes not enough to just have one copy of the character. That's what I think is really great about the new era of gacha games like Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, Genshin, Honkai, where normally having a regular copy, one copy of the character is enough. That is what I like.
fairly easy to get the majority of characters I'd ever want as long as I wasn't wasteful. However, the Mystic banner in that game is a little less friendly. You may disagree overall with these points, but these are just a few examples that could be modified to suit some of these games copying the 50-50 system and maybe improve upon it. Whatever ends up happening, I'll forever hate the 50-50 system, and I believe its introduction was extremely harmful to players and a step back in the industry as a whole. It isn't the worst system introduced of all time, but it has stagnated the market rather than pushing it forward and becoming more consumer friendly in this new era of gacha. I hope you enjoyed.
The problem is when you lose the 50-50, you don't get excited when you get it off hard pity. You're just like, oh God, finally their cock's out of my ass. That's it. Like, you don't feel like you won, you just feel like you stopped getting fucked. And it's just like, it's a miserable, unpleasant experience. And that's why I will always hate it as well.
The video. Thanks a bunch for watching. Subscribe to the
Genizard, Charizard, good ass video, man. Fuck Hoyoverse. Fuck them all. I hate them. Fuck gacha games. Anyways, guys, I'll be playing Zenless Zone Zero and Wuthering Waves later. I'm out.